And the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Now Jesus began to explain and to teach his disciples that the Son of Man was going to go to Jerusalem, and there he was going to suffer greatly from the elders and the chief priests and the scribes. And he's going to be killed, but on the third day he would be raised. It was then that Peter took Jesus aside and he began to rebuke him. "Oh, God forbid, Lord, no such thing shall ever happen to you." And then Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You're an obstacle to me. You are a stumbling block. You are not thinking as God thinks, but you are thinking as human beings think." Then Jesus said to his disciple, If you wish to come after me, you are going to have to deny yourself. Take up your cross, and then you may follow me. For whoever wishes to save their life is going to lose it. But whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Tell me, what does it profit someone to gain the whole world and lose his soul and his life? Or what can one give in exchange for their life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay all according to their conduct. The Gospel of the Lord. Amen. Please be seated. Incredible words from St. Paul today. Listen to them again. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Now, what Paul is saying, that if we put on a new mind, we are going to be new creatures. Matter of fact, he calls us a brand new creation, and we are a brand new creation in Christ. So he's telling us that we've got to put on the mind of Christ. We are to have Christ's consciousness, see through Christ's eyes. And when we see through Christ's eyes, we're going to see very clearly how the world unfolds, what we need to do, what's our part in this world, how does it work? Now, I got to say, this is really tough stuff, because from the time that we are born, we swim in a completely different consciousness. It is the human consciousness. It's the consciousness that says, I better take care of myself. It's an egoic-centric consciousness. I take care of me, I take care of mine. Do unto others before they do them to you. Buy low, sell high, make all that you can get. The one with the most toys at the end of their life wins. We swim in that world. And of course, it's a world of scarcity. There's not enough for me and for thee, and that's basically the cause of most violence. Wherever there is greed, and that is a human trait because it's never enough, there's going to be violence. There's going to be wars, there's going to be divisions. That's the human way. But we are told that there's another way, that there's another mind, that there's another consciousness, another way of seeing it. It is the way of Christ. And so Jesus is asking us today to change our mind. But it's hard. Hardest thing in the world. Because we're kind of like the man who woke up one day and he went to work and he opened his lunch and he says, my goodness, another cheese sandwich. I hate cheese sandwiches. Cheese sandwich yesterday, cheese sandwich the day before, cheese sandwich 2 weeks ago. Every day I open up my lunch and it's a cheese sandwich. And his buddy says, well, why don't you tell your wife to make something different? He says, what wife? I make them myself. That's how strong and stiff our mindset is. I mean, we literally turn on the television, that's all we see. Read the papers, talk about our thing. What are most of our conversations? They're not about the mind of Christ. And yet that's the mind that really leads us to the fullness of life. And so today, Christ is trying to change the mind of his disciples, to put on a new mind, or a meta-nous. The mind, the Greek word for mind is nous. So the meta-nous is a higher mind. It is the mind of Christ. So today, Jesus is trying to give his disciples a piece of his mind. And here's a piece of his mind. Here's what's going to happen. Now, the Son of Man is going to be handed over to the scribes and the Pharisees, and they're going to kill him. And you can almost see the disciples going, whoa, this is a higher mind? Are you kidding me? Peter is not going to have any of this. Peter, he's hearing these words, and he's going, whoa, wait, didn't you just tell me 3 verses ago in the gospel that that the keys of the kingdom were mine? That you are Peter, and upon this rock I shall build my church, and whatever you bound on earth shall be bound in heaven. And now you're going to tell me that you've just given me the keys and I want to take the new car for a ride around the block and I can't do it because I got to pick up my cross and follow you? Are you kidding me? Peter just can't get it. It's too much. It's too hard. And yet what Jesus is doing is basically an amplification of what we find Jeremiah doing in the first reading this morning. This morning we find, I love this, we find Jeremiah at the very beginning, he's shaking his fist, "You duped me, and I let myself be duped." Why? Because God has put in the heart of Jeremiah, and he's only about 17 years old when he becomes to be a prophet. He goes, "I'm too young for this." God says, no, it's going to burn in your heart, and you cannot not do it. You've got to go ahead and do it. What's he going to do? He's going to say to the people, you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be exiled, you're going to be in trouble, you're going to be enslaved. And of course, every time you say that kind of a message, when you give that kind of a prophetic message, there's always going to be pushback, especially if you're going against the interests of those who want to have business as usual, especially if you're going against the economic interest, okay? If you're putting on the mind of God and you're saying, this is what God is saying, and that's the job of a prophet. You know, we keep thinking that the job of a prophet is to predict the future. That's not the job of a prophet. The job of the prophet is to prevent the future. And so what the prophet says, if you keep doing what you're doing, this is the logical consequence of your action. Now, right now, we've got some wonderful prophets right now. Matter of fact, I think the prophets of this age are scientists, and particularly the climate scientists who have been saying now for 30, 40 years, keep doing what you're doing and there's going to be disaster. And now we're seeing the results of the disaster. And it's going to keep on getting worse if we don't change our ways, if we don't change our mind. But why are we so caught in our mindset? Because in our mindset, we feel that what we've got is going to be taken away. And so the great powers that be, and they are great powers, the oligarchical powers that be, are going to say, no, it doesn't exist. It's all in your mind. It's not real. And so we do nothing. And like the ancient Hebrews, we march to destruction. We cannot hear the words of the prophets. We can't hear Jeremiah, and we can't hear Jesus. Now, why are they going to destroy Jesus? Why are they going to kill him? What's he doing? He is destabilizing the entire Jewish economy. Because they are making their living by the killing and the slaughtering of animals and making sacrifices to God to try to get close to God by all these sacrificial things. And Jesus is saying, no, you don't need that to get to He's your Abba. He's your daddy. No, all you need to do is say, our Father, and he's there. He's just made the priests and the scribes and the Pharisees superfluous. And it's going to hurt them where it hurts most, in their pocketbook. That's what's because the root of all evil really is the love of stuff, of money. Because there's not enough for me and enough for thee. So they're going to crucify him. They're going to kill him. They're going to destroy him. Now that's a hard message. And that's a message that Peter simply can't brook. It's too much. You're going to be the king, but not like this, not like this, you're not going to be a king from a cross. What, are you crazy? So he pulls him to the side. He pulls him to the side. And he says, look, whoa, wait a minute. You're talking about all this wonderful kingdom, and when you come into your kingdom, and you just give me the keys to the kingdom, and Peter recognizes Jesus. No two ways about it, that Peter recognizes that Jesus is the Christ. What he doesn't understand is the Christ pattern. And the Christ pattern says if you want to find your life, you got to lose your life. That is so paradoxical, he can't take it. So he says, God forbid that should ever happen to you. Not you. And what does Jesus do? Turns on him. What does he call him? Get behind me, Satan. The first pope's called Satan. Because Jesus is saying as clearly as he knows how to say it, You are thinking like the world thinks. You have got the mindset of the world. You've got the small nous. You do not have the meta nous. The meta nous says you will suffer. As a matter of fact, in the only way that we're going to come to some kind of a peace and reconciliation is through the suffering. We are going to come to God not through doing it right. We're going to probably come to God through doing it wrong. Oh, Peter, you're going to do it so wrong, you're going to deny me 3 times. But when you wake up from that, you're going to come to me. And it's only through that suffering, only through your own cross, that you're going to come to me. What's the job of Satan? The job of Satan is to divide and conquer. And that's the job of the modern world. We've been told how much we are to be divided, and yet the divine spark is still there. We saw the divine spark all last week. In the midst of what? In the midst of a crucifixion. In the midst of people drowning underwater. In the midst of Houston. We've seen people come together with a meta nous, with a higher mind, completely forgetting themselves, taking care of the needs of others. That has been incredible. What caused it? A catastrophe. And but that's the pattern. That's the pattern. Now, can we learn from this pattern? Can we keep this up, not just in times of catastrophes, but in all times? Can we learn to see that we are intimately connected with our brothers? Because if you hold on to your life, and Jesus is saying this as clearly as you can, you're going to lose it. If you grab for yourself my group, my clan, my race, my religion, against everybody else, because we are intricately connected to everybody else, you're going to lose it. You're going to die. No, unless you pick up your cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. What does it profit you to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Because the world is passing away, but the soul is immortal, and love lasts forever. And so we're given a choice today. Are we going to take on the meta nous, the mind of Christ, and be transformed into a brand new creation? Or are we going to take the noose and put it around our neck until we choke ourselves to death? The decision is ours.